I think maybe next time we might have this at the clubhouse, be more intimate, and we can certainly have everybody there. But thank you for coming and showing interest. I'm Elon Shannon, president of the board of the HOA. To my left is Mike Bowers. Bowers, I can never say his last name, Bowers.
Close enough.
Yeah, who's the vice president. And Jeff Carson, who is a member at large. He has a very important duty in terms of being the liaison to our DRC. He's also a member of the DRC. We have Mark Law on my right, who's our treasurer. And then we have, last but not least, Paula Brandon, who's our secretary, okay? Before we get started, I just have a few comments to make. I want to, this is generally speaking quite a new board, okay? Mike and I are the only people who are left over from the original board. Mark has been with us for 1 year, and then Paula and Jeff are new. So we have a lot of new, fresh ideas, and that makes it very interesting and a lot of fun for us as well. And I'm really honored to be working with all of these people who are all very expert in various areas and care about this community and bring all kinds of excellent ideas to the table. I was going to go through a little bit of what was accomplished by the original board, but I'm not sure I want to bore everybody with that. Just to sort of summarize it, I think when we took over from the developer board, for those of you who weren't around, how many of you have been here longer than 3 years? Okay, longer than 2 years. And are you two pretty new? So for your sake, is
Oh, don't cover the bottom, he's saying there.
cover what?
The bottom of it.
Sorry. Oh my God. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, we were 3 years, a little over 3 years ago. We transitioned from being a developer board, meaning the developer was in charge of the board for 20 some odd years, and we became a homeowner control board. And with that came, as often happens when that kind of transition occurs, came a lot of challenges in terms of catching up on a lot of maintenance, which we're still working on, that was sort of kicked down the path, getting clarity about our financials and getting those into a situation where we could really make decisions on behalf of the community in terms of our finances, which of course is extremely important. And there were many other things that we had to catch up on. And I think it's fair to say that now we're at a point where we are able to sort of take the next step, move on. Now, how many of you get the Chronicle and read the Chronicle? Okay, so if you read it, if you looked at it, just to quickly review, the new board met closely after the time that we were elected, and we brainstormed what we thought are the top priorities going forward for the next couple or so years. And those priorities were that we needed to number one priority is to update our governing documents. These are 20-year-old documents. A lot has happened in Utah relative to the legislature to really protect homeowners from their HOAs, so to speak, okay? Restricting what HOAs can and cannot do with their homeowners. And so we need to catch up on all those statutes. There's a ton of them. Not only that, we are no longer a developer-based community, so that has to be cleaned up as well. And there are some things that we want to at least have the community be able to vote on in terms of options. Some of you may have heard about rental caps, things of that nature, okay? And these are decisions that we're not going to make. These are decisions that the community is going to make. And so there's a lot of work to be done there, and that's one of the initiatives that we have to get done this year. The other one is that, for those of you who don't know, how many are here from the Views? Anybody? Okay, oh, good. So most of you know the Views is, I don't feel this way, but some of the Views people have referred to themselves as stepchildren of the community. And we don't want to see that. So one of the things that we want to see the Views have an option to do is fully integrate into our community. And so we've formed an ad hoc committee that's going to study that, look at everything that has to happen, and then that will go out for a vote for the Views people. They can determine whether they want to be completely integrated into the community or just continue as is. The third item I have is we want to continue our 4-year plan of improving our common areas, especially the landscaping. We found out shortly after we formed the new board, we found out that we had hundreds of thousands of dollars of repairs that we're going to be facing relative to our irrigation and lines because they were 20 years old. And so we put together a 4-year plan to repair those. And at the same time, because of what's going on with the drought situation, we decided to take the opportunity and remove grass from a lot of areas and replace it with xeriscaping. I live on a mesa. I've been watching them do it. As I've been walking my dog along there, I've noticed over and over again leaking valves, water being wasted. You know, that costs money, not just the water, but repairing it over and over again. We all know what it's like to water grass. So that is now the first year has been going really well, and that's going to continue. Also, we made great strides in communicating with our homeowners compared to what was going on before the homeowners took over. We didn't have the Chronicle. We didn't send emails out. We didn't do town halls. We didn't do a lot of things that are now being done. But we think we can take that up another notch. So we're looking at apps that you can have on your phone. So it's not just us communicating to you all, but you all communicating to us as well. Okay. And if somebody notices maybe a problem somewhere, they can just get on the phone, let us know, and we can respond to that. So we're going to look at that as well. That's just one example. We want to also, this is not a new thing, but we will continue to rely on what I think is something that we're very, very fortunate to have compared to other HOAs, and that's a very powerful, strong financial committee. It's one thing for us to try to look at all the numbers and make decisions, but when you have a group of people who are very diligent, very detailed, and have experience in finance, constantly combing through our financials, making all kinds of really good suggestions, the level of decision-making that we can have when it comes to the finances just goes way up. Okay? And Mike has headed up that in the past, and Mark is now going to be working with the financial committee going forward. So those are the things that we have in mind. That's all I. Anybody know? I can talk, but they're trying to record it for the. Hello? Okay. So what I want to do now is we have some questions that were submitted to us in advance, and I can go through those, and then we'll open it up for everybody here to make any comments, suggestions, ask questions, throw darts at us, whatever you wish. And I'm going to ask the rest of the, well, before I do that, anybody else from the board have any comments you want to make?
Another thing that came to light towards the end of the last term of officers, the first term of officers, was the parks. And we did a park analysis, and one of the things on the horizon besides the sprinkling systems is to upgrade the parks. They wear out. Slippery slides wear out. handholds on walls wear out, the chains that run things wears out. And so we're faced with almost an equivalent amount of money that we have in front of us to take care of the 6 parks we own. So that's the only other thing we discussed a lot.
Yeah, the only thing, me? Okay, the only thing we did relative to the parks last year was some safety issues that we had to take care of. Okay? Can't afford to have the liability when it comes to parks. To be honest with you, when I grew up, broke our fingers and toes and everything else in the parks, but nowadays that's not acceptable. So let me go through some of the comments that were made. I don't know if any of the people are here. Is Paul Lapatina here? Well, one of the comments that he made was that it's really bad for people who don't see well when bushes and plants intrude over on the sidewalk. And that's absolutely true. I've experienced that myself. Now, that can be because a resident isn't taking care of their landscaping, or that can be because our landscapers missed something, okay? We try as much as possible to find all of those areas, but it's not easy. When you look at all the miles of roads that we have around here, sometimes you miss them. So anybody, whoever sees that kind of situation, please call the office. Let us know. So if you let us know about it, it'll get taken care of, okay? And it is a problem. I was walking my dog around this one area, and the bushes were just completely over the sidewalk. So I had to go in the street. Cars are coming up. Not a good thing. Okay? So you can help us in that regard, or any other kind of safety issues that you see like that. Please don't be shy. Let us know. The other comment that was made was that could we have better lighting on the entry to Coral Canyon Boulevard, that they noticed that we had the Christmas lights up. They could see much better. Amy and I talked about that a little bit today. I don't have an absolute answer for you. The street is, of course, a city street, but part of the area there's also HOA community. I have no idea what that would cost. I have a feeling it's not cheap, and it's certainly not in this year's budget, okay? That's the best I can say right now, but we've noted that request. Another suggestion is more lights in the parking lot of the community center. Same answer. It's not cheap. It's very expensive. So we can look at that, but not sure how many people really do or do not care about that. And I'm going to address this in a second. And finally, we got a request to have some outdoor foldable ping pong tables in the area where the pool is. Which, I talked with Mark about it this afternoon, and it sounds like that can be done for less than a couple of $1,000. I think it's a great idea, personally. And it's not in this year's budget, but unless we can find some money somewhere from another optional kind of activity to fund it, it's not going to happen this year, I don't think, but it's not a great amount of money, so maybe we can do that. How many of you would like to see that? Oh, okay. Okay, well, nobody cares about ping pong tables here. Okay, well, we'll have to find out. Now, relative to any kinds of improvements like that, here's a couple of thoughts I've gotten. Anybody else from the board who wants to make comments about that can add to it. First of all, we're going to be coming up with a survey here pretty soon. We have an annual survey, and that's one area where we can try to find out what people want. Second of all, if you have an idea, or any homeowner has an idea for something like ping pong tables, rile up some other homeowners. Get other homeowners who are interested in it as well, and email us to the staff, or put together a letter from all of you. Sign it. Get the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So if a lot of people are asking for something, that's going to come on the board agenda. You know, we think we know what people want, but we're not sure. So it helps to get the feedback. You have anything to say about that, Mike? I have a feeling you have something to say
The
about it.
reason we decided to have these quarterly meetings was to find out what you guys want. And if you guys want absolutely nothing, I guess we fold up and go away. But there, you know, we've been here for 24 years and there's been very little changes in the community up until the last 2 or 3 years. And people are constantly coming to me and saying, Mark, can we do this? What about this idea? Do we have enough money to buy this? And everybody on the board here, our emails are published in the Chronicle. And just, you know, they're there for a reason. If you have an idea, not you, Mike, but if everybody else has an idea, just send it to me, Elon, anybody on the board. We do have some specific duties assigned to us, but basically we're just generalists here. And the way politics works is everybody needs to want a ping pong table.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open it up to, I should give you one example of something that homeowners asked for quite a while, and that is the indoor pool that we have in the community center has an area that looks like a hot tub, but it's not a hot tub, okay? And as I understand it, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some plumbing that occurred to help in that regard, but it's not complete. Is that correct? Yeah. But we're planning, unless there's a surprise, we're planning, there's money in the budget to create a hot tub with that area. So we're working on that right now. Again, it's not cheap, but that's in response for what people have asked. So with that, we've done enough talking. I want to hear from everybody here. Anybody have any comments, suggestions, questions? Yes, sir. Come on up. Come on up to the mic.
First, just a comment when you're talking about the extra lighting at our entrance. I might suggest some of that high reflective paint on the curbing as you come in and exit. Mhm. Just reflectors? Yeah, I know they got some great paint that you can see miles away if the light's right. And that's a comment I wanted to make as far as Allied. I know we've heard a lot in the past about how Allied is fixing the irrigation and everything else. We took a walk down Crow Canyon Boulevard Saturday morning on our way to the church groundbreaking. And we noticed all along the way, next to BLM land, you got water emitters emitting water going nowhere. They're not watering anything except the red dirt we have. And I know they were in a process of fixing that, but that's been like that for quite a while.
Okay, hang on. I think, Jason, did you have something about that?
Yeah, I just got the head nod from Amy, so I guess I'm okay.
Talking to the mic so people.
My name is Jason Clement. I am the new operations director for Coral Canyon, so I get the privilege of trying to work with that. It's a good comment. So we've actually driven every single road, especially where you're talking about with Allied, looked at all the emitters, and right now, because when plants would die for lots of years, they would just be removed, and then we didn't replenish
Remove the
very
plants,
well.
yeah.
Those
And
emitters
I mean, you
are-
could tell there was probably something there at one
Yeah,
time.
and so we've gone through now, and the board has approved by stages, by year, us to look at different areas where we are gonna go back and start to replenish specific strategies on plants, trees, and things like that.
Yeah.
So we are working on that. We certainly could work on capping emitters.
Exactly.
Until the time that we get there, and would be happy to.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes a little tie wrap just to cap them temporary otherwise.
Hey, go ahead. Did you have something
The other
else?
thing I want to inquire about, I know we talked about this before, I've got some, I a monument, like the property's not being used, vacant. We have in between the houses. For 2 years now, we've had a piece of view fencing missing from this open lot that we have. And I brought it up again to the board, the last board. And before I forget, congratulations to the new board members. But that view fencing, we're supposed to have get and take care of. What's going on with that?
That missing piece?
Uh-huh.
There's been a lot going on and that's not the high into it, but we have to find makes it to.
Okay,
Right.
but a priority for you guys is security for us, because with that fence missing, our back of our houses are open. And there's people that go down through there all the time, especially kids. I mean, that's a security issue for us. So that needs to be made up to another priority, except just waiting to see what we find.
Definitely on the list.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. It's been over 2 years since Dave Houston was on there, so. You don't know my name? Ask Mark. That's it. Anyway, congratulations, good guys.
That's good, that's good. By the way, just so you all know, in terms of Allied, you know, it seems like that's a common criticism, not just in this HOA, but a lot of places, is landscaping. We always want landscaping to be improved. And one of the things that we have implemented this year is a work order system that Allied is required to utilize. Up until recently, basically somebody calls in with a leak or some kind of a problem, we call Allied, say, okay, we'll go fix it. And then we don't know if they fix it or not. We got to follow up and all that kind of stuff. Now what happens is when we get notification or we notice something, then it goes into the work order system. Allied has to update the work order system. So we finally know what's really going on in terms of the landscaping. I don't walk the whole community. I walk a lot in the Mesa. I've noticed improvements there. I don't know if other people have noticed improvements lower. And the views, you know, that's a newer community, so we don't expect as many problems in terms of irrigation and issues like that. But it's been a real problem in other areas. So I'm really thankful that we have that. What else? Yeah. Come on from the back.
Hi, my name's Dave Coates, and I live on North Spring Valley Drive in the Liberty Greens area. I noticed in the Chronicle about our mailboxes. And there was a recommendation that if it needs some work, that it could be stuccoed by a certain company. But these are foam. They're disintegrating in the sun. They were maybe painted with a sand-based paint. And, good wind comes along and they got knocked over. They get moved off their pad. The bottom, I know on ours, is rounded. We've had the mailbox fly out of it in a good wind. So I'm wondering what we could do on that. I assume those have been around for as long as the community's been around. And
we have sent out information of a stucco contractor that can take care of those for you. I know I've had the same problem with my mailbox. It's a double mailbox, and I don't know if it has been hit before, or if it just came loose. But the whole thing is styrofoam. It's not very sturdy at all.
Right.
But I've gone in and I've pulled the whole mailbox off, and I just have like a steel post inside of that. And I've put some like a PL 500 landscape adhesive in there and stuck it back on there, and even put the same stuff at the base of that styrofoam, and it's been holding very well for the last year and a half. But you're right about the other part, that sometimes the mailboxes slide right out. Sometimes the cap on the mailbox falls off. I don't know if that's a post office issue with the actual box itself. I think that it probably would be, but I would just say, You could try to do it yourself if it's your mailbox, but I would recommend contacting the contractors' names that we submitted earlier in the Chronicle.
They are,
It-
okay.
On your mailbox, is it just yours or is it a double
It's
mailbox?
a double,
Double.
yeah.
So you might want to get together with your neighbor and see if you want to do a different mailbox or fix that one up.
Okay. Yeah, that neighbors, it's a rental and I don't know who owns it.
Contact the homeowner. We can't give you the information, but we can contact the homeowner on your behalf
Okay,
and try to put you in contact with them.
all right. Okay, thank you.
One last comment. If you read the rules and regulations, you're going to see that it says that the mailbox is supposed to be painted a specific color. Well, originally, every mailbox in the community was that color, and now they're just all kinds of different colors. And that's part of the DRC's decision to make whether the color you want to paint your new mailbox or repaint your old mailbox, they will approve or disapprove. If you want a turquoise mailbox, it's probably not going to happen.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is to paint it the same color as your house. You know, or when you're having your house painted, get that as well. Okay, anybody else?
I
Yes.
just have another comment on that. That styrofoam, if it gets exposed to the sun, it will start to deteriorate. It turns yellow. It's probably what's happening with yours. So the sooner you get it painted and fixed up, the better off it'll be.
All right, so hi, my name's Tom Kwesiak. I'm new resident in the Views. And just a couple questions I was going to bring up. One, I guess is related to landscaping. So behind our house, there's like the big black rock kind of, I don't know, it's not a wall, but it's a slope with the black rocks on it. And we get tumbleweeds growing on that like crazy. And they've grown to our fence level where they're blocking our fence, our view that we paid extra for, whatever. So my wife went back there and clipped them down, but I'm wondering whose responsibility that is. We went to the office, the HOA office, I don't know, a couple months ago and mentioned it and never heard anything back. But I don't know if that's our job or the landscape company's job to knock those things down or.
Yeah, we had it cleared a couple times,
Okay.
so you know.
Just in those, among those piles of rocks, whatever? No? Okay. That's not really natural. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. No, tabletop. hmm Between the tabletop, the canyons below, down below us, and there's the walking path, and there's a big slope of black rocks. So it hasn't been done in a while, so. Okay, thanks. I just didn't know if that was
Yeah,
part of the HOA or the.
there's a lot of us
landscape
also who
company.
live, not in the Views necessarily like I do, but in this common area between me and the trail, and it's got weeds and stuff like that. I'm also concerned because of potential fire hazard, but
Yeah,
the way it's put together right now, that's really supposed to be natural growth. If you want to remove them on your own because it bothers you, no one's going to have a problem with that.
all right.
As a matter of fact, the police chief, not the fire chief last year, suggested that homeowners do that for fire safety.
Okay. All right, so,
I did do it, because we had emailed and, but, what was happening was tumbleweeds were so high, the birds are, hot iron fence, and
they're pooping on the fence.
they're pooping on
So-
the fence, and it was disgusting.
So-
I go out there and wash it, and the next day, basically, all back. So I went back there, and underneath the tumbleweed nest, and, rats, dead rats were back there. They had made nests So that was that something was on because I was in there before, but the timber. I did take it.
It's really, it's really not supposed to be an HOA responsibility, but it is still having it done. Because we've gotten a lot of comments. Let me just make one comment about the rats, since I brought that up. We also had a rat issue. And what we found in our situation, some people don't agree with, and our pest control people, rat boxes on. That's helped. Some people don't like to do that because it's poison. And environmentalists don't like that, but our
We're okay, just on the record for poisoning the rats. So we're good for that, so. Just one other thing too, and I don't know, again, if this is an HOA issue, and if it's not, maybe there's other people that have this issue. I think there's probably some, is our retaining wall behind our house with our fence on it, since we moved in, has settled, I mean, before we even moved in, I think. And there's cracks in it, and you can see through it and all that. And we've brought it up to the west, and, you know, supposedly it's being litigated or something like that. But again, it's been 2+ years and no movement. So I don't know, again, if the HOA is involved in that or other people in the room have.
We've
Heard
heard about it. It is a COLWIST issue. Question, do you happen to have any trees with big roots nearby? That's
This is
caused
again
some
before
problems.
we even had any.
We also discovered that while those fences are supposed to have rebarb through them, many fences were built without rebarb.
Right, that's probably the case.
And that's the
Okay,
buil-
I don't, and
builder
again, I don't
issue.
know if anybody else has that, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we're just being like stonewalled here, I guess, you know, it's supposedly it's going through litigation, or, you know, they're pointing fingers like whoever's fault it is, and. All right, someday when it goes to the Supreme Court, we might get a decision. Anyway, so thank you very much. Appreciate, thanks for having the meeting too. I appreciate it. There might be an award at the end of the year.
Are you relocating the nests? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I relocated.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Barbara Horning. I'd like to add my voice to the person that complained about the sidewalks. When I'm walking the dog, I call it duck and dodge. Some areas, it's impossible to walk next to the dog, let alone two people. I can send a complaint in, but there's going to be hundreds because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of inappropriate plants that were planted on the strip, like desert spoons, that were so cute when they were 6 inches high, and now they're 6 feet wide.
Are these in HOA common areas, or are these private residents?
Private residents. The residents aren't taking care of their property.
Okay, and you have informed us about those?
No, not yet. I've just grumbled and groused to my husband.
Well, you've been informed, but it's better if you, it's not better, but it's also, it'll get attention if you inform the staff.
Right.
Let me just, I was with the DRC until recently, and basically, what we pay attention to, number one, Scott does inspections, but that's just one person. The first priority that the staff gives to getting to residents is when we have another resident complain. So if you complain about an area, that helps us, and we definitely will go after that resident.
There's a lot of residents, and as long as I'm not looked at as that complainer, but there's a lot of people that, they're not trimming their trees 8 feet high, they're not trimming them 6 feet high. And then there's, like I said, there's some places where it's very narrow to walk.
Yeah, we're not
the
gonna,
sidewalk.
we're not gonna give your name out or anything like
Right.
that, but it really helps us out
Sure,
when we do that. I've reported myself.
yeah. We actually don't have one right now. Nobody wants to.
Are you, do you want to volunteer?
Not really. Although the resident advisor program doesn't seem like it's getting much usage. We knew the previous person who resigned because, I don't know, nobody was using it. So I know resident advisors are an issue.
I have a comment on that also. I know some residents are responsible if they have trees or bushes too close to the sidewalk where it's raised up, but the sidewalks are owned by the city. Is that correct, Amy? I think the sidewalks are owned by the city,
Yes.
not by the HOA.
Yes.
And my wife and I walk around quite a bit on the sidewalks, and anymore, we try to walk in the street because the sidewalks are too dangerous.
I've actually tripped on the sidewalk, and I know that's from the Chautauqua trees.
Yeah, my
and
my
the
wife has
ash
tripped
trees.
and been injured before, and I've been down to the Public Works Department 3 times and showed them photographs, and they really don't come out and do much of anything. A couple of times they've come out and taken a grinder and tried to grind down some, but if you have a 2-inch offset in the sidewalk and you grind a 45-degree angle on it, you have an angled trip hazard instead of a straight trip hazard. It really doesn't help it much at all. So I think we can still put some pressure on the city to get those sidewalks fixed. But if they come out and look at it and there's a tree there that's in somebody's yard that's raised the sidewalk up, they will not fix the sidewalk until that tree's been removed.
Well, and we've seen them fix it across the street, and they didn't take the tree out, which I thought was dumb that the city's not requiring the trees to come out, because you're going to have the issue again in a couple of years. My only other comment is on the pocket parks that we have 6 of, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And this is an older community. I know people have grandkids, but they're not utilized that much. I have to question why we need 6 of them. They're not usable at all for at least 3 months out of the year, if not 4. I'm sure the temperature on the slides is 140 degrees. So that before we just replace all the pocket parks, let's see how much they're utilized and if we really need that many.
We're not necessarily going to replace the pocket park. This is a area of conversation right now amongst us. And I actually agree with you, but I'm not the only person. So the board's going to discuss this. There is even a cost in tearing them down as well.
Sure.
So we have to look at that. But we're really struggling with that one. We certainly don't want to give our homeowners a $400,000 bill immediately. Okay, so we're going to be very responsible how we make that decision. But I agree with you, you know.
Okay, thanks.
Just one comment on the resident advisory committee members. We're taking a new look at that right now. We've asked CCMC, Amy, to get us a list of best practices across the system, what works best in communities of our size, and we'll reinvent that. Rodney Cruz is heading that up, and he and I will commit to you that we'll strengthen that, make it better, make the communication channels work better, whatever it takes to improve that. So we're committed to that. We're just at the very start of it, looking at best practices, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody from the board want to make any comments?
Back to Barbara's comment, and Jeff noted that the city owns the sidewalk. And if you look at your plat maps, and I assume everybody here has a copy of the plat of their property, if you have a sidewalk running across it, it'll identify it if it's a city easement for the sidewalk. What I find very puzzling is they only maintain to the top of the sidewalk. They don't seem to, their easement doesn't seem to project up, and it should. Every place else in the city that they're responsible for the sidewalk and the intrusions. And this community has always put that responsibility on the homeowners. And I think one of the things that we will look at in the future is maybe there's other ways that we can maintain those public passageways without causing the homeowners additional expense. And a lot of people, and not to single out rental owners, their properties, they really don't have any responsibility for the grounds themselves. And if the landlord is not maintaining the property, then nobody really is. And one of my speculations is that, you know, that might be something we could convince the city to help us with, and maybe we do a share cost with them so they run through the community a couple times a year, making sure that that overhead easement is clear. I know there's a lot of people that want to say that's the homeowner's responsibility, but 44% of our homeowners are absentee. And so you don't get a rapid response when you ask them to correct a problem, particularly a intrusion kind of problem. So I'll shut up.
Well, sometimes homeowners aren't aware that something's going on and the renters aren't saying much. So that's where we rely on somebody reporting it or us seeing it upon inspections, okay? And the homeowner is responsible for it, whether they're here or not. So if they have renters, that's still the homeowner's responsibility. And we do pursue that, and we do fine them if they don't take care of it. Now, can we do other things? I've thought in the past, maybe if they have a certain number of violations, that we should require, if they have a renter, for instance, that we should require them to get a property management company, something along those lines. But this, right now, this is just talk. This is nothing that we put into place. We do recognize the issue, though. We're not ignoring that.
When Elon asked how many of you have read the Chronicle, it seems like quite a few of you here in the front do not read the Chronicle. Is that right? Have you not read the Chronicle? You don't get it? It comes by email. So if you don't get it, please contact the management office right away and let them know what your email address is, because we want you to know what's going on. And if you don't get the Chronicle, that's one of our main, all the information out about what's happening here. So how did you find out about the meeting tonight?
I got an email.
Okay. Okay, great.
So how do you guys know about, I think we have neighbors. How does the office get notified?
We run a move-in, move-out report monthly and contact those people, try to get them to the Q&A with the HOA, where Scott and was Megan, now we're filling that position, have a presentation. They explain DRC, they explain the rules, a lot of the rules,
These folks are
violations,
second homeowners,
lifestyle.
so I guess we just tell.
Yeah. Yep.
To let 'em-
Yep.
I would just like to say that one of the things that's been talked about with the resident advisors is having them have like a welcome packet that they can make available to new people moving in, and we can get them right on the mailing list. And if you know, we've been talking about just this. It seems like so many people don't read or don't get the Chronicle, and that's really one of our only ways to get in touch with you, unless it's directly to you and we have your phone number on
I
file.
guess my question is, the office is days and never go to, how do you find out, how do you get that packet? How does
The
office
report, the report.
move in, move out report, a lot of times. It will have the, packet. So much.
try the best we can. We're talking right
This
now.
is, it's an idea that we've been floating and, you know, Mike. Yeah. And the other thing there's a couple of things going on here. One of them is we have a website that's really underutilized. And so a lot of the documents, like the DRC's guidelines and all of that is on the website. So anybody who wants to go on there, a lot of us pay our assessments on the website. And so it's all there. There was one other piece I wanted to mention, which is just, you know, this is the first time we've done this town hall. And so we so appreciate you guys coming here and talking to us and telling us what you think, because it gives us such a better idea. But you can be ambassadors for us too, to go out and reach those people who are not getting this information, and then they feel forgotten, or, you know, they don't understand what's going on. And then that becomes an issue.
That's a really good point, and I was going to ask a question, and the question was, where are your neighbors? We arranged for a really big meeting hall here, and I think I counted 16 people, and we're really puzzled as a board and as the administrators. What do we have to do to get people to come to these things? If we don't talk about things, then we're not transparent. But when we try to talk about things and nobody shows up, the result is still the same. Nobody knows what.
Our neighbors all
Do we have?
sometimes they can say this, say that, but no. Oh, I saw them, that well, we have one renter.
Well, that's an interesting comment in itself, because tenants are also part of our community, and we don't see them at any of our events or anything else. And that's another thing that we need to determine. How do we reach out and make the community a little more cohesive than just homeowners? And it's hard to do when 44% of the people don't live here.
I think some of the renters, whoever owns their home, the information that what's available to them. The renters we've had next to us, we get a lot of functions with them, bring them with us. So they know about it. But since they have a property manager managing their rent, they're not passing that information to them.
Well, you know, a couple of comments. First of all, I have a little bit of a historical perspective, and actually the number of people whose emails we have who are getting emails and acknowledging that they are getting emails is significantly higher now than what it was 3 years ago, okay? That doesn't mean we've solved the problem, but mail is just not an option because it's too expensive. Every time we do a mailing to all homeowners, it's, what is it nowadays, $1,500 or so? Yeah, that,
If you walk around putting that, did it with the phone. I didn't before.
yeah,
Don't say voting dealer.
Wasn't it split into like 4 sections and
yeah.
took for 2 days?
But that's, again, you know, I think we've had some conversations about the resident advisor knocking on doors and stuff like that as well. Again, it's not going to get everybody, but hopefully we'll get more and more people involved.
So when you send out,
Oh, I'm sorry. Scott, four.
Well, that solves it.
So it's 20. That's a win. Yeah.
so in the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Brent Mason. I'm here with my wife, Leanne, and also our neighbors who we brought with us. My wife and I just moved in permanently into the Views area on Tabletop. We've been here 5 months. We've been in and out quite a bit, probably out more than we've been in. But we've been hearing rumors about the views being annexed in with the, for lack of better words, the main Coral Canyon community?
Yes.
Okay, so I know we're running short of time and it could be a very long answer. And so I'm not asking you to give us the full update right now, but could you direct me to just the reference or source reference of where I can go to get the update of what's happening, or what's being proposed? What are the next steps? Where's the best place to go for that?
Well, we're just beginning, we just formed the ad hoc committee, so I'm not sure we have an absolute answer, but we will, the Chronicle will definitely be addressing it as well.
Okay.
As part of this process, all Views residents or homeowners will absolutely be contacted because they need to vote on it. The process is basically just beginning this at this point in time. We had, before you were here, we had a vote that there were a number of people in the Views who wanted to de-annex from the community. We had a vote and that did not pass. And we didn't expect it to pass. We've had a lot of people in the Views saying they want to be part of the whole community. Right now, there are certain restrictions. You can't use certain of our amenities.
Right.
We can't use
Right.
some of your
We're aware of that,
amenities.
yeah.
You're paying more than the master people are because you've got exclusive rights for the pool and the pickleball courts, things of that nature.
Okay.
And going forward, I think that you'll have a choice as to whether you want to become part of the community or not. Can I point you out? Rodney is chairman of the advisory committee. He lives in the Views, and he's extremely well connected to people in the Views. So Rodney Cruz, if you want to talk to him, he can probably give you a pretty good update on the details of what's involved here.
One of the things that we've struggled with as a board is Coal West created this division. They created the master unit, as you said, the master, and then they created a subunit called the Views. So from day one, we've had questions. The Views has its own budget, it has its own reserve accounts. It operates somewhat autonomous in terms of finances, and yet it's part of our overall finances. And so the question has been, how do we get to the point that we've got one unified family, or we designate the Views as something different than a subunit, but it still has to be part of our homeowners association? So that's what we're leading up to, is what does this look like if we merge? What does it look like if we don't merge? What are the costs? We're analyzing the costs. Does it cost more if we merge for the Views? Does it cost more for the master if we merge? All those things are part of Rodney's committee that we're trying to figure out. So we've got a complete package to take to the 124 homeowners, I think it is, in the Views, and let them understand all of the details before they make a vote. But we all believe that it can't go on as it is right now. It's just too convoluted. I've chaired the finance committee for 3 years. The first year, all it was discussion on the Views. We didn't ever get to the real budget. We just discussed the Views and the issues, and we discuss the budget every week, but we really never got to delve into the budget like we have in the last couple of years. But I, for one, I'm on the committee with Rodney. I'm very committed to get this resolved. It needs to be resolved. It's been hanging around for a number of years. It's not good for the master. It's not good for the Views. So the Views has to, agree to it, and then beyond that, I guess does the master have to approve it too, or? And then it comes to the board, which we did find out that simplifies things. Because if you had to go to 1,300 members rather than 124, who really may not have as high of interest in the issue, it'd be hard to get that passed, so.
And anytime, again, anytime you have any kind of questions, please don't be shy. Call the office or email. Okay? Yeah. Good. Anybody else? Yeah.
Just back to the Chronicle real quick. When you guys send those out on email, give a number of how.
Yeah.
You know which one?
We have about a 70%.
Question is,
But that's why it's
if we had,
if you have a set list that you know are not opening up, maybe that's something you might want to pass on to the residential advisor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sure they're not going to spam.
get 70% open, 800, how much better?
70% of those.
Yeah, yeah. If we can get 70% of 800.
What area do you live in, by the way?
Right behind the hotel.
On Expedition, right down the path.
Is that your area?
No.
Oh, we're trying to recruit a resident advisor. We have an opening there.
We got an advisor.
Okay, good, good. One of the dangers of coming to these meetings is we're going to try to recruit people for volunteer work.
I need a good excuse for
Yeah.
walk.
You know, on that point, actually, and this was brought up in the past, this HOA would not be able to do half the things it's doing without a lot of volunteers. I don't know, what the last count was above 30 volunteers. They're constantly working away to make things happen. Okay, so very much appreciate it. And anybody who has an interest, please let us know, because we can always use more volunteers. Is that it? Okay, let's call it a day. Thank you for coming. Encourage others to come. We'll probably have the next meeting at the clubhouse.